Okay. So we took a little break. My dog needed to go outside, and they have a really lovely backyard that reminds us of the when we were living in a cabin and stuff, and had the forest around us. So it's pretty nice. It's like a little wild spot back there. So I'm curious about like your early life and what you went through as a younger person.
A little bit of everything as far as it was a lot of adversity. I was very sick as a child. We didn't really know why. At 3 years old, my father died suddenly, blood clot. At 6 years old, we realized what was going on with me. I was born with a hole in my heart.
Oh.
Very serious. I had to have heart surgery. My mother eventually remarried. It was actually he's the man I call Dad. He was my father's best friend.
Sure. Okay.
Like he and my mother were barely acquaintances at the time. And I grew up on a 15-acre farm.
Nice.
I grew up this really weird, strange kid, and I loved it.
Was that over in this area?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was in Kansas City. Yes, I've lived in Kansas City all my life.
Because I noticed that the farmland in some places just kind of interleaves with the city and industrial part. It's really interesting.
Yes, Kansas City is a really interesting. Yeah. It does not conform to the typical urban, suburban, rural. It's in the middle. It's like you get all of it.
I'll tell you, it's been hard for me as somebody doing gig work. I can't figure out where to go.
Oh yeah,
because you think, oh, here's a mall. Maybe there's some restaurants around it, and that'll be okay. But then suddenly it's just railroad tracks and farmland. And it's like, oh no.
Yeah. Someone tried to drop a metropolitan area in the middle of the plains.
Yeah, right.
And it was kind of hit and miss.
Yeah. No, I love it though. It's kind of like all of a sudden I get lost a lot, and I kind of wander around it and I'm like, oh, this is so beautiful. And, just kind of wandering around Kansas City.
Yes. I mean, there's definitely, it's got this really unique feel to it.
Yeah, it does. It does.
You get a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So were you born and raised here then?
Born and raised here.
Okay. All right.
I grew up this weird kid and I loved it. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I did not check the boxes. I knew I did not conform. Mm-hmm. I did not have the language for it. And I even appreciate...
And this was in the 80s?
This is in the 80s, early 90s. Mm-hmm. I knew that I did not... even I didn't understand me, and I loved that.
Okay,
I always felt like I didn't need to fit anyone's expectations.
Well, if you're kind of this free-flowing individual that is constantly learning, where's the boundary there? Yeah, you keep expanding it.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
My mother always said, everyone's trying to count the bricks, and I was like, what does that mean? But you're trying to understand the universe. And she said, baby, once you get done understanding the universe, you're going to count the bricks, and everybody else better watch out.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, mom
she grew up a little revolutionary there.
Yeah. So I got to be in my 20s, and this whole I don't need to be understood, I don't need to understand myself, quit working.
Okay.
Because I was an adult now, and I needed something from the world. Okay. Not every, I needed to be understood. I had a lot of women that did not like me, and I didn't understand. And I'm like, because I'm just being me. Yeah. I'm just being me. And what I didn't realize is people didn't have context. They look at me, and they're expecting what they expect out of a man. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm coming across in something different. And really, and where the biggest rub for me, where the biggest friction was in my 20s.
Did you that was mostly your community was women?
No, just a little bit, just, just more very diverse.
Okay. Was this queer community?
No.
Oh,
no, because at the time, I didn't identify as queer. Okay. I identified as a straight man. Okay. And it was my sexuality that really, that was the problem for me. That was the problem. Is there was something wrong there. There was something not right. I was attracted to women. A couple times I'd asked myself, questioned. And I'm like, you know what? And this is where I knew I wasn't attracted to masculinity because I asked myself, what if I was with a man or with a masculine person? Mm-hmm. I thought about it, like, sexually, physically, and I was like, that doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
I'm not into it. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, if I don't...
Just not into it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, if I get that, it's not an insecurity, it's not that repulse, like, that's a fear, that's, something down there, I'm like, well, okay, that's a really healthy...
So it's more gentle than that.
Yeah, okay. Right, it's just, that's not for me.
Yeah.
Like, but so, in my relationship, and I had only one very significant relationship in my 20s. It lasted 6 years. Mm-hmm. So that,
that's a while.
Yeah. And that's where I got that's where I first started to get dysphoria. Because...
In your 20s?
In my 20s. Mm-hmm. And, well, it was because, like I said, like, I didn't feel the need to conform as a kid.
Right.
Like, I didn't have a language. I wasn't seeking it. Like,
and you weren't confined.
Yeah,
either.
right.
Your parents allowed you to flourish.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I never bumped up against anything.
Yeah.
So, but in my sexuality, I was. And one night we were.
Was that from the outside too? Like people were like, "Look at you, you're not acting like a straight man," kind of thing, or
you know what? Like I heard after I came out.
Yeah.
People, so one of my friends said, people would come up to me and ask me if you were gay, and that person said, I don't think so, but I wouldn't be surprised if they wore women's underwear, like kind of a not funny kind of comment. Anyway, I remember watching Princess Bride with my partner, and at the very end where they kiss, and I looked at her and I said, "I'm not the man you deserve." And she said, "Yes, you are." I said, No, trust me, I'm not. She said it again, and I repeated myself. She looked at me and she said, "But you're exactly the person I want." And that hurts. To this day, that hurts.
Why? I don't understand.
That I couldn't hear that.
Okay. So you were denying the relationship there.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I could have heard her words, and I could have, connected. It was because it was about another decade.
Yeah.
Till I came out.
Yeah.
So it
kind of haunts you a little bit.
It kind of haunts me a little bit.
Yeah.
But that relationship ended because I was unhealthy because I couldn't love myself. And I thought, love was this absolute devotion to the other person, like worshiping them.
Yeah.
And it was not healthy. And this person had to not only lift themselves up, they had to lift me up because I didn't invest in myself at all.
Yeah.
And so...
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So eventually, after we broke up, 4 years later, I had to lose everything. Because, and again, there was no narrative. Like you said, like, you recognized me as butch. There was no narrative in growing up, even in the early 2000s, of a butch lesbian that happened to have a Y chromosome.
Right.
Like there's no narrative for that.
Right.
And so
I've met very few of them, but I've always been super intrigued by them.
I'm intrigued by myself. Like I'm an oddity. Like wow.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of time, and then and I hated it for 2 weeks. I just hid in a hoodie. It was dark, depressing times, and 2 weeks into it, I'm like, you know what? I love who I am. And then I realized one of the most...
This was after the breakup?
Yes, it was after the breakup. This is 2012. We broke up in 2008. About 4 years later.
Okay.
And I realized one of the most selfless things I can do is love myself.
Yeah.
Because if I love myself, my loved ones don't have to carry that weight.
Yeah.
They don't, and
that's a very healthy relationship to activism as well.
Yeah.
Is to start from a place of love of yourself.
And how can we really push for equality if we don't see the value in meeting everyone as equals?
Yeah, including yourself.
Including yourself. Yeah.
And where you need help as well.
Right.
Yeah. You're not just helping others, you're also helping yourself. Yeah.
So, and that gave me to a place where, I was very, very empowered by being in women's spaces, and it was very important, and I was very well in my early.
Had you? Sorry if this is an indelicate question at all, but have you done any physical transitioning in terms of medical intervention?
Yeah, I'm on hormones.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did that work with being in women's spaces? Like, what is the timeline here? I guess.
Well, so okay, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So early in my transition, and like from 2012 to like 2018, I had this really positive experience because I was super selective.
Okay.
Because I was like, "You're safe.
Okay.
This place is safe."
Okay.
And I was still using the men's restroom. And 2018.
So there was kind of a split there.
Yeah. There was, and I remember dating someone, this lesbian, was really impressed with me. She asked me out, and the first time we went out in a public space together, and we were both going to the restroom, and I went the opposite direction.
Oh.
Like her heart was broken.
Oh,
and I wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
I just wasn't there yet.
Right.
I had some personal reasons of why I wanted to delay hormones. A lot of it had to do with I wanted to donate my gametes.
Okay. Yeah.
And that never worked out. That never happened.
Yeah.
And I got to a point like, I'm 6 years into this, and you know what? Good for me. I did all this work. I tried to donate. And you know what? This didn't work. I'm ready for hormones. And I felt really empowered. 2018 was a big year for me. It was a big year. I took a job at the college that I worked at as a student ambassador.
Okay.
And I was out loud and proud and on hormones.
Is this through like a LGBT or diversity center?
No, well, I was a president of the LGBT student club.
Okay.
But I was a student ambassador just giving tours through the admissions office.
Okay.
And I was the primary student giving tours as an out loud proud trans woman.
Yeah, awesome.
And that was amazing. And I started using the women's restroom. And
how did that change happen? Like you went from using the men's restroom for a long time, even when you were also becoming part of a women's community and doing medical transition. At one point we were like, I'm just not going to use the men's room anymore.
It was when I started taking hormones.
Okay.
When I started taking hormones, because I was just really scared. But at some point, something, a switch flipped, and I'd spent I would say I spent 6 years marinating in this trans love, and this woman's loved as a woman, loved as a queer trans person, because I was selective about who I shared that with,
which is really smart. That's
and
really
then
smart. Yeah.
at some point I was ready.
Yeah.
At some point I was ready, and one of the things was at that campus, they were really pushing the gender neutral restrooms for trans people.
Okay.
Because they weren't quite.
You have to use it? Instead of whatever bathroom you want?
Hey, trans people, we've got gender neutral restrooms.
Okay.
Because they don't want to tell you, don't use the restroom.
Okay.
But, so it's their way of playing safe.
I see.
It's their way of playing, of not picking sides.
Right.
So this is going, okay, so.
It's a little cowardly.
And there aren't a lot of, now that you prompted, now I can remember. So they're selective of where they were. Now at the gym on campus where I would work out, the building right next door, the print shop, there was a gender neutral restroom, and we were always told you can use that restroom. So I used it one day. Well, the rules had changed. Safety committee had said students are no longer allowed to use it, and no one told anybody.
Oh boy! Okay.
I got yelled at.
Oh no!
By someone, and it went really badly.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear you. I don't like it. I don't want it. But you know what? I can't use the gender neutral restroom. Okay.
You're just going to do it.
I'm just going to do it.
Awesome.
And then that became everywhere else.
Yeah.
That became everywhere else. And I had a real positive experience with my first polyamorous relationship happened in 2018. Two women. I was dating them at the same time. They were a primary couple. And I was their girlfriend. And it was awesome. And I got ordained, and I married them.
Okay.
I married my two
ordained
partners.
through whom?
Through just like an online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so that was then there was no going back. And to this day, I use women's restrooms. I can only remember one time, and it was at the community college, where they had something going on, and there a lady, a cis woman in her 80s, was walking into the women's restroom as I was walking out, and she refused to come in.
Okay.
As she guarded herself and backed on.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, you're kind of in the way. I can't, like, if you want me to leave, but I'm trying to leave, you're in my way.
Right.
That was the only time I've really had. And I don't really get any issues. I don't get in the women's restroom. Almost never do I get any kind of feeling that anyone's even noticing.
Yeah.
That has any kind of opinion on it.
Yeah.
And I do love the space that I'm in right now, because there are times people look at me and will say, sir. And I don't like that, but people will look at me and say, sir, and not think anything different, like not think that I possibly identify any way different. I'll get ma'am, and not think that I don't have anatomy consistent with most people that they know are women. And then I'll go to we have a gas station called Quick Trip here.
Yeah, right.
And they're very polite.
Yeah. And very clean, very nice. Yes.
And I love, and they'll be throwing around ma'am, sir, ma'am, sir, ma'am, sir, ma'am, sir to everyone. And I get up and I don't get it. Yeah. And I because I know this person lives and dies, loves to say ma'am, sir, but looks at me and doesn't know what to get.
Yeah.
And so I get a little bit of everything.
It's interesting. When people do that, do you ever say, just ask me, or, because it sounds like people have good intentions, but they don't know what to do.
Oh, well, I'm like, I love the neutrois.
Or you just love that space.
I'd prefer no one be called ma'am or sir.
Yeah.
If the person doesn't know. If you don't know, and if I get a sir, I will usually say, please don't call me that.
Okay.
And I remember one time, when someone clapped back at me, I said that to a Quick Trip clerk, and another guest, another person buying something, said, well, what if I told, in this kind of mean, masculine, intimidating voice, well, what if I called you sir? I said, I would say, please don't call me sir.
Yeah, right.
That's just...
He was trying to get a rise out of you.
Yeah. Right.
I don't understand, some people have, their first reaction is violence. It's like...
Right.
I don't understand that. So it sounds like you like to be in that kind of in-between space, and people are using honorifics with you, and that makes you uncomfortable. If you're out in public and people are doing this, where they're maybe using honorifics, or, some people are saying sir or ma'am or he or she or something like that, do you ever intervene and say something to them that is sort of educational, like, my pronouns are, or do you ever lead people that way, or do you just let them do what they're doing, or do you just, like you were saying, just ask them to stop using particular words with you?
I would say, in the moment, if I'm just coming and going, and she and ma'am is acceptable.
Yeah,
I'm not going to take the time to stop that.
Sure, okay.
And to me, it's all about my safety. And my safety is physical and emotional.
Right.
And so please don't call me...
And you're talking about going to a truck stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And please don't call me sir is a way to do both.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna stop an educational moment.
Right.
Because I don't feel physically safe.
Sure.
But I don't feel emotionally safe to ignore it. So it's really... whether I consciously aware of it, I'm taking a safety temperature check,
Sure.
And I react that way. So in this coming and going, and in certain spaces, in these spaces that we're talking about, it is very much just a, please don't call me sir, or I get
and just moving on.
Yeah, or if it's a ma'am, it's like, okay,
Okay.
they don't, or ma'am or she or whatever. I'm like, eh.
Let's say you're in a university setting though, or something like that, or some place where there's where it feels a little safer or something like that. What would you do? Maybe would your response be a little different?
So this conversation that you and I have been having, which has been really enjoyable, are I probably have conversations like this, maybe like a third of the depth of what we're going in now, all the time, if and when I feel safe, and usually it's a safe environment initially from the get-go that I feel comfortable talking into this, engaging in this before we even get, and it's like Hyman and his faith. My pronouns are they, them, she, her.
Okay. So that's the first thing you say.
Right. Okay. Like if we're in that space, if I'm that comfortable, and it's not just coming going, and I'm like, okay, this is a space I can exist. I can be here. Okay. Then I'm engaging, and then I'm being assertive and making sure that this is a space not only safe for me but also for others.
And you're kind of proclaiming it that way.
Right.
You're creating it.
Right. Absolutely, and erasing any doubt. Like, oh, there might be other people in here that aren't necessarily as invested in inclusivity as me.
Right.
But I'm gonna claim the space as inclusive,
and you're gonna put them on their best behavior too.
Right.
Right there.
And hopefully in a very polite way.
Yeah.
Actually, in a way, maybe they're not even wanting to be conservative, restrictive, or exclusionary. Yeah. Maybe they're just unsure.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just as enthusiastic. Maybe they believe. Maybe they believe the same philosophy I do, but they don't have the enthusiasm. They don't have the permission
or the words, or they don't know how to do it. Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I've told lots of people. I'm like, some people have said, "Oh, I can't do what you do," as far as all the speeches I've given at different events, and I've spoken at pro-choice. One pro-choice event 4 years ago with 4,000 people.
Okay.
And big. Someone said, "I can't do what you do," and I said, "No, but no, you do." And they're like, "What?" No, you were there. You were one of my educators. I'm an extrovert. You're an introvert. You educate me. Right. Your words were in my head. Like, we all have different skills. Just because 4,000 people are hearing my words doesn't mean, like, again, we were talking about hierarchies, is public speaking is my skill set.
Sure.
It's not yours. But you have invested and you have made people's lives better, including mine.
Right.
And so...
You've nurtured that.
Right. And your skill sets are not mine.
Yeah.
I cannot be talking to you. I cannot be leading a march.
Right.
I cannot do my job without all the people that have enriched my life.
That's right.
And I know...
I love that.
That's like many people look at my skill sets as this elusive and hierarchy and this achievement, this better than.
Yeah.
And it's just me.
Yeah. And I got to say, too, sometimes, and this is not you, because you're a very passionate person. I can tell that you're not glib. You don't have this set thing that you're saying. You're actually feeling and you're thinking as we're talking.
Yeah.
Right? And there are people who are kind of like at a professional level of speech or whatever, and kind of frankly they're a little bit boring. They're just kind of saying the same words over and over. But I really love it when people who are nervous or who are shy, who've never done any interviewing or speaking or whatever, I love it when they take the mic.
Yeah.
Because you can tell that they are nervous and they are taking a risk. And I am going to fucking listen to them.
Right.
Because they are up there and they are taking a big risk with themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because these are people that don't usually have space.
That's right.
Don't usually take their space.
That's right.
And
they've just been quiet their whole lives or whatever they're doing. And
that's, I have had to been taught about, because I sometimes feel like the responsibility to take up the silence because I've got that skill set.
Right.
And all the time, I love who I am, and no one can take away my gender, my identity, my femininity, my queerness, my non-binariness.
Yeah.
But this is something I own. Now, I don't allow many people to project this onto me, but I own this. I'm just assigned male at birth. I'm white. I dress butch. I'm attracted to the people I'm supposed to be attracted to.
Sure.
I have this privilege. And I'm used to being heard.
Right.
And I'm used to getting the opportunity to speak up.
Right.
And it doesn't always occur to me that other people are not talking because they don't feel safe.
That's right. Or they just haven't been given that space. Or sometimes when people like us, for instance, I don't think I'm of myself as an extrovert, but I push myself out there. And I've also done radio, so silence is very bad on radio.
Right.
You got to fill that space. And I've also been somebody who's talked my way out of situations.
Right.
So it's just, it's a survival skill set as well. But sometimes I just have to be like, okay, you're talking too much. Internally, okay, you have to move back a little bit. Even though you have a lot of passion for this, even though you have a lot to say, there's other people who have something else to say.
Right.
And it's okay to be silent for a second.
Yeah.
It's okay for everybody to be silent for a second and see what arises.
Right. Because there are people that are constantly expected to be told not to speak up, or that someone like me is just going to keep going, and I probably am.
Right.
I probably am if I don't put myself in check, if no one lets me know.
Right.
So
and if you're of a certain personality, like big and boisterous, and
absolutely,
totally,
and totally. I love to take up the room, and that's something that I really enjoy the challenge not to.
Yeah.
And as I'm moving forward, I work with people with developmental delays. I've done that for over 7 years now.
Oh, I bet you're good at that.
We're the same three people day in and day out. We become family, and not necessarily like we're grumpy with each other. We tease each other.
Sure.
It's fun.
Sure. Well, I can see that you sometimes people in caregiving situations, and I've seen this myself as somebody who's a caregiver, like dealing with doctors, for instance, where there's a big gap in the power relationship. They will talk down, instead of as a peer.
Right.
So I have a feeling that you very much try to talk to people, to everybody as a peer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I do my best, and I always come from this not selfless place of I want to be heard. I want my needs met. I need, I want. I can only expect these things if I'm willing to give the same space.
Right.
And so that's right. Where I come from. I thought I was going to be a nurse. I started nursing school in this January.
Okay.
Got halfway through the semester, started clinicals, and realized this is not for me.
Why is that?
I always knew that bedside nursing wasn't for me.
Okay.
I knew clinicals was going to be hard.
Yes.
I wanted to do medical advocacy.
Okay.
But in my mid-40s, a little bit of chronic pain, the trauma I've been through, just being 12 hours on my feet just was not for me.
I see.
And I was like, you know what? I could push through and get through this semester. But I pushed through, and I was talking about 2018. I pushed through too hard, and 2019 was rough. 2020 was rough. And I'm like, you know what? I think I've learned when to cut my losses. And I did really well, and it took me so long to get in.
Not only just cut your losses, but you tried something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't what you wanted. So there you go.
And it took so long to get in that I knew I had to start.
Oh, I see.
Because I knew I needed to be the one to say no.
Sure.
And that no one else told me.
Right.
And I had great grades. I had all the respect of the teachers. All my classmates loved me. And I was like, this is not for me. And I'm like, I feel empowered to step away from this.
Great.
And so...
So what are you doing now? Or what direction are you going?
And I realized, I'm like, you know what? A few doors have closed. But medical advocacy is still in my heart. So I'm pursuing a degree in health and human services.
Okay.
So basically the core is still, the core opportunities are still there.
Okay.
A couple of opportunities over here are no longer, but this avenue gives a some more opportunities. And
is that like connecting people up with resources?
Absolutely. Like
that sounds like right up your alley there.
Because I realized, you know what? I'm not the person that's going to give the individual care. Or be the resource. I'm the one that's going to advocate for you and make sure you get the resource.
Right. The hand holding.
Yeah, absolutely. Or the person, that says, you know what? Don't worry about this. I'll give you a call in 30 minutes, and they leave my office, and then I'm on the phone and say, hey, I'm the one that can be the loud, boisterous, take up the room, advocate for
in defense.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
And then one other thing that I just started, like just this last weekend I finished, and I feel
I love it.
Yes.
I love it that you're going into medical advocacy.
Yeah.
I love it.
Something that just felt right.
Yeah.
And all the things have been targeting our community, and especially with trans women being painted as predators.
Right. Right.
And we've talked a lot here, and I've responded to a lot of things. But this attack, this really recent, painted as groomers and predatory actions and protests and being loud is not my response to that. Because this is something different. Like, I think they want me to get loud, angry, and aggressive. Because that's, so.
Well, women are always punished for doing that.
Yeah.
No matter who you are.
And so we're seen as, like, abusive and threatening to women and people that experience assault. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Here's my response. I I interviewed with MOXA, it's a metropolitan organization, to counter sexual assault.
Okay.
And I became a volunteer advocate.
Great.
I just finished my training 2 days ago.
Great. And organizations like that are getting much better about that, about bringing in people with diverse experiences. Because myself, I've also had to use those lines as, like a client or whatever, somebody who needed some immediate counseling around those issues. And they gave me a choice of different people that I could actually talk to from different backgrounds. And I felt so blessed to be able to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So, yeah. As a user, that's a really good. Yeah.
And like, what's the point of being assertive and engaging with people if you're not engaging with people more diverse than yourself? Like because we all have our own community, we all have our small tight-knit group. If you're not going to seek out different experiences, what's the point?
Well, I mean, it just helps the actual service itself. For instance, at the time, because of my situation, I really wanted to talk to another man about this issue. And so they had men on call who were counselors. So it was great for me.
Oh, no, yeah. That's very important. And I think that,
and they were competent about queer and trans issues as well. So obviously they'd had a lot of training.
That's very powerful. I think that trans people, I think sometimes we need that, just that reassurance, like that you are welcome in this space, how you identify. And I remember heard something recently is, I'm enough, you're enough, we're all enough to name our own experience. And so being seen
rather than not enough or too much.
Yeah. So
you're just enough.
Yeah. So being allowed into that experience you name for yourself is validating. So yeah, I really appreciate that. And that's
so if you've gone through the whole training so far?
Gone through the whole training. My first volunteer event will be at Pride.
Oh, excellent.
And it's because
serving your community.
Right, because I'm old school about Pride.
Yeah.
I don't believe in cops, capitalism, or crowds. And that that's what we got, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But, and the meat smoke and the beer.
Right. But I get to go in free.
Yeah.
I get to sit at a booth. And I get to talk to my community about keeping them safe.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's pride.
And issues about consent.
Again, issues about consent. And
our
autonomy.
Our whole culture has problems around that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's pride to me.
Yeah.
You know, like I look at our queer ancestors and the people that survived and fought in Stonewall Riot. And like, you know, I try to look at my advocacy and say, would they be proud of me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course I can have my own voice.
Yeah.
But you know, so now I'm at a place in my life where with the work that I do with vulnerable populations, with volunteering, with people who've experienced sexual assault, and getting my degree toward medical advocacy.
Yeah.
And
you're doing a lot.
Yeah,
you're doing a lot.
Like, and trying to focus my activism in lifting up the next generation. It's about, you know, me appreciating what I've done and my experiences and saying, how can I empower others with that?
Yeah. I'm also curious, how do you take a break? Because you're really doing a lot there, you know?
You know.
Or do you not need a break?
No, I do.
Okay.
No, I
was going to challenge you
I have a good way of spinning a narrative that doesn't necessarily include all the times I took a break.
Okay.
Like I said,
that's why I want you to talk about that.
Yeah,
because activists often don't take breaks. So it's good modeling to figure out like when you are taking breaks.
It took me 7 years to do what should have been at the max. If I did the most of the program, it should have took max 2 years for the nursing program.
Okay.
Now, a lot of that wasn't breaks.
So you
a lot
took
of that was
the
trauma.
slow boat. The slow boat.
Right. Well, and sometimes the motor on the boat went out.
Okay.
Sometimes I had to row.
Okay.
Right. Some of it was breaks. Some of it was the boat got turned upside down.
Okay.
But so, a good example. So I, you know, at midterm, around mid-March is when I bowed out of the nursing program. And, you know, I've been working, but taking it easy.
Okay.
I graduated, and I will get my associate's degree after I finish one class in the fall. But so I did my volunteer training this weekend. I'm on vacation as of 5 p.m. tonight.
Great.
After I go see my client. My dog and I, we're going to go to Omaha and see my queer adopted kiddo.
Okay.
Adult adopted kiddo. And we're going to spend...
I love that you adopted an adult. That's
yeah. So we met. They were 20. I was 40.
Sure.
We kind of had a crush on each other.
Yeah.
We both thought the other one was 30.
Okay. All right.
And so before we realized the age difference... we realized, this isn't crush. This is like family.
Okay, yeah.
And we were like, no, okay, we're more like family. And then we realized the age difference was 20. And we're like, this fits much better.
Yeah.
So we're going to go and we're going to see them. And then we're going to take another week off. And then, so the last 3 weeks, except for the volunteer training, we've been really chill.
Yeah.
Really chill.
I love that because it's like it's chosen family and mentorship and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So what are you going to go do? Like go fishing or something?
No.
That's what I would do. But
I think we're going to try to hit the Omaha Zoo because they got a big zoo there.
Is Omaha fun? Because I'm passing through there.
It is. It is. I mean, I've only been there once.
Okay.
I've been there in January.
Is it a comparable size to Kansas City, or is it smaller?
Slightly smaller. I think smaller.
Okay. I did drive through there before, and I did notice that there was quite a few sporty cars there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I was expecting more country, but I was like, this is actual real big city. Okay.
I'm more of a quality time person than I am like an attraction person.
Okay.
So in the last 10 years, I've just been through everything.
So just go to somebody's house and cook some nice dinner.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I am too.
Yeah.
I think that has to do with age too. Like I don't really want to go out because going out kind of is expensive and exhausting.
Right.
So I'd rather just cook nice dinner for somebody.
Right. Yeah. And like when I'm volunteering at Pride, it's like 5:30 to 8:30. It's like okay, good, out of the sun, Yeah. But then
The sun.
I get to go home at 8:30, and I because I'm not wanting to be one of the the party queers
or the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
Thank God for the cleanup crew.
Right. Yes. Then I got summer classes. Gonna have about 3 weeks off or so.
Yeah. And
my roommate and I, we both have late July, early August birthdays. Celebrate birthdays, and then start back up in mid-August. I have one more, another semester, and then I start. Should be able to knock it out in 2 years. I started university in January.
Okay. And so is it a 4-year program then?
It's a 4-year. It's a 4-year program.
Okay. And then, do you have? This is kind of out of left field, but do you have like a spiritual practice or religious or anything like that?
I do have a bit of moderate spiritual practice, and I'm not standoffish enough that I won't talk about it. But I will say it because we're in a semi-public, semi-private space because this is being recorded, but this is also about me. This is an intimate look into my life.
Yeah.
Publicly. I like to say that I'm publicly, at least mildly agnostic, because I never want my beliefs to take up so much space that people don't have space for their own.
Okay.
Because I don't want to say, I believe this thing.
Okay.
And this is the right way. And even in doing that.
Not everybody has to do religion or spirituality that way. I mean, that's the wrong way to do it, personally.
Right, and it just...
The reason why I'm asking you is because for some people that's a respite from kind of like their everyday life of working and doing activism and that sort of thing. For some people it's a traumatic space. No. So they're pulling away from that. So I'm just wondering if you have something like that.
I do, and it is not an organized mainstream Abrahamic religion.
Sure.
It is more older, more it's more polytheistic.
Okay.
It's kind of magical based. It's incorporating Norse mythology. I have
I noticed that.
All the all 24 runes. So it's definitely oriented in that, and it's a very personal grounding. I certainly have and do practice with other people or share or read runes for people, but it's really meant to be personal. That it can be personal, as in I do not feel that I have to have others to engage with it. So if I am not connected to other people, I don't feel like I'm isolated from my
But you
system.
are somewhat connected to other people.
Yeah, I definitely am. Yeah.
Wow, that's nice. So you can kind of take it or leave it, or you can enjoy a community space, or you can enjoy your own personal private space. Oh, that's
right.
See, that's a great way to do it, I feel like.
And again,
I love that it's really personal for you.
Yeah.
Because you're a very public person and you get to have personal, private things.
Right, absolutely.
You get to have that.
And sometimes I feel that way about gender. I feel that we are expected to display our gender.
Right. Coming out.
Yeah, more publicly.
Coming out.
More publicly than other things. Because, you don't think of anything if someone says, oh, go talk to that man over there. But if someone says, go talk to that tall person over there. Go talk to that heavyset person over there. Go talk to that blind person. Go talk to that Republican.
Sure.
Go talk to that white person. Those things sound kind of weird and really uncomfortable and awkward. But somehow gender should be more accessible, more visible, more public. And I'm like, why can't gender be more private? Why can't it be more personal?
Yeah.
Why do we have to perform it or share it or at least have the choice?
Yeah. And why does it have to be your interaction when you go to the truck stop and want to go to the bathroom.
Absolutely.
It's like everything is on display all the time. It's a little bit weird. It makes me, it gives me great empathy for people who want to be stealth.
Yeah.
Right. In this culture that's so demanding of them that they display all these private things about themselves. You don't always need to. I mean, there's people like us who are very out and active and whatnot, but we also have our private spaces as well, which we deserve.
Absolutely.
And I don't know about you, but I'm fiercely defending that a lot, just being kind of a public person.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you'd like to talk about? Any sort of advice, or, I mean, advice is kind of a weird kind of a word, but any kind of, because this is a hard time, that we're all in, and anything you'd like to say to other queer and trans people, or interesting non-binary people out there?
And I started, thinking about this when Kansas City was deliberating on that resolution.
Yeah.
And it was
the sanctuary.
Sanctuary. And it was so weird about how many council members really didn't get it, and didn't get what trans people
how serious it was.
Yeah, well, and they totally misunderstood. Actually, took the opposite approach of what they thought it was. Is they thought that Kansas City was endorsing gender affirming care and deciding who can get what.
Oh, I see.
And it's quite the opposite.
It's more like just staying out of people's lives.
Yeah, right, absolutely. And there was this really intriguing, and people didn't quite understand trans people. And we get that a lot, we're this enigma. And one thing that I would really like more people to just understand is that, we have some things about us that people should respect and be sensitive to.
Yeah.
Other than that...
And are different. We are, I'm different.
But
it's okay.
Other than that, we're just human beings.
Yeah.
They're gay, straight, bi, pan, asexual. We're black, white, brown, indigenous. We are conservative, Republican, Democrat, independent.
Yeah.
We are disabled. We have able bodies. We're just human beings.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people get so tangled up. Trans, I don't know. What does a trans people... Do trans people breathe oxygen? Do they eat the same food?
Well, we are being sort of systematically dehumanized. Right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and
totally.
even well-meaning people, even people, intentional allies, get caught up in that. Because they're what do I even do with a trans person? And it's we're just human beings.
Right.
Be sensitive to things.
Right.
If I tell you, hey, these are my pronouns, or... hey, I don't quite do gender that way. Be sensitive to that, but other than that, don't because I
think you're right. I think sometimes allies shy away because they're afraid, or they think they're going to say something wrong. It is very possible that you're going to say something wrong, and that's okay. Because people make mistakes. But just approach people with as much respect as you can. Educate yourselves.
Right, and that's something you and I, we can sit in a space and we can realize we can get it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
but
yeah.
I can step on your toes, you can step on my toes.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
There's nothing about either one of us that inherently gives us understanding of the other person.
I'm going to read your mind.
Exactly.
Here. Yeah.
And it's okay to make mistakes.
Right.
What it's not okay to do is to be defensive, to reject how someone else sees themselves.
Right. And double down on it.
Right.
Ugh.
Oh, right. Double down on, I didn't mean it.
Now it's about me.
Right, exactly. Right. And, I had someone come to me who's their adult kid is dating a trans person.
Mm-hmm.
And this adult kid, has has some developmental delays, is neurodivergent. Mm-hmm. So I told this person, I'm what I want you to do about your how to look at your kid's partner is think about how you want their parents to treat your child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is treat them normal.
Yeah.
Treat them with respect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Be sensitive to their needs.
Yeah.
And realize you could get it wrong. And that person could have a bad day.
Yeah.
Like, just because they feel upset doesn't mean you did anything wrong.
Yeah, and that's not forever.
You're right. And it's all a negotiation.
Continue the relationship.
Right, and just you know what? Just treat them like a normal person, and realize you're fallible and they're fallible.
Yeah.
And go with respect, and negotiate anything that comes up.
And people deal with this kind of thing all the time. Like marriages, for instance, long-term relationships like that. They're always like that. You always make mistakes.
Right.
You're always growing. Sometimes you say the wrong thing. You apologize. You do better next time. I mean, that's what I feel like. That's what we're all doing, right? That's what we're all wanting to do. So, yeah. I think that's a pretty good place to end there. Anything else? Anything coming up in Kansas City that you want to advertise? Any events coming up?
No. I mean, we've got Pride. Mm-hmm. We've got Pride going.
When's that?
It is the second weekend, like the 9th, 10th, 11th
of June. Okay. Yeah.
Typically, they usually try to do like the first week.
Okay.
And sometimes it feels so real disjointed. I'm glad it's the second week.
Yeah.
Because usually it's June 4th and our Pride's done.
Okay.
And it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We're just in the beginning of Pride.
Yeah. Different places have different dates for it. This video will come out afterwards.
All right.
I'm still going to be on the road then.
Okay.
Yeah. It's going to take me a while to get back up to Alaska. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. I pulled up and I was like, oh, I know this is going to be an interesting interview. Yeah. I was really impressed with you.
Well, thank you.
And thank you so much for being really kind to my dog. I love it. I love it when people are sweet to my dog. It shows me who they are.
We can definitely bond on being dog parents.
Yes.
Of bigger dogs.
Yeah.
And people, like, oh, your dog's bigger than a purse.
Right.
And oh my God, do I have to be scared of this?
I know.
And no,
I know my dog's a cream puff.
I know, right. Summer's the same way.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Like, and I just want to say, I think I really needed this.
Oh, good.
All the things I've gone through in the past 6 months, it really it's good to have this kind of really private, easygoing, down in my basement platform to talk about me.
Cool.
So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, and this is kind of different. You're not, challenging Michael Knowles.
Right.
You're not out on the street.
Right, yeah. I don't really have any responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm just sharing my soul now.
Right. That's right.
I don't have to protect a trans kid or defend this premise or whatever.
That's right.
It's just giving
just
space,
chilling out,
sharing space. I love
That's
it.
Right. That's right. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shane.
I love it too that I got to say this again. You remind me so strongly of the Dykes that I came out with, which is it's a nice kind of trip down memory lane for me. So yeah. So you do come out of that community. It's great.
You could not give me. I don't think there's 5 better compliments you could give me. Thank you. Thank you, Shane. Thank you for your time.
All right, y'all. I have a couple more interviews here in Kansas City. I counted up already, and this is my 10th interview in a week.
Wow,
so
impressive.
Yeah, so I've met some really cool people. All right, so I have to run off to another one now.
All right, good luck.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye, y'all. Yeah, I'm talking to a 19-year-old.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's cool.